up till now we've been focusing on simply factoring expressions, but now we're going to use what we know about factoring expressions in order to solve equations. Okay, so we talked about this in class, but we're going to recap this. So the first thing we need to do is get this equal to 0. So set equal to 0. That doesn't mean I can just say, oh, well, hey, this must equal 0. Okay, what we actually have to do, since we have an equal sign, is we need to make sure that what's on one side is 0. So if you look here, it's easier to bring from right to left. So we're going to get rid of that -5 on both sides. So if we add 5 here, we're left with the equal 0 that we're looking for. So that means I have to add 5 on the other side of the equal sign, which gives us 24. Okay, the rest of this comes down. So minus 11x and x squared. So now we've got x squared minus 11x plus 24 equals 0. And this is what we're going to factor to find our solutions. So we do our x method. We're going to just factor like normal. So step 2, factor. That could mean GCF, that could mean special cases, or it could be done just the way we're doing it now. So if 24 goes in the bottom, and -11 is up top, which means our factors are -8 and -3. -8 times -3 is positive 24. -8 plus -3 is -11. So since we don't have a coefficient out front for x squared, that leads us right to x minus 8 times x minus 3 equals 0. And now, if the product of these is 0, then that means either of them could equal 0. X minus 8 equals 0, which means x equals 8. Or x minus 3 equals 0, which means x equals 3. So after we factor, we set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x. There's your 4 steps. You set the equation equal to 0, you factor like normal, you set each factor you get equal to 0 from there, and then solve for x. So let's take a look at another example and see how this works out. So now, let's say we have something a little bit more complicated. B squared plus 5b minus 35 equals 3b. So again, we look at this and we say, is this equal to 0? No, it's not. So what has to move? 3b has to move. So we subtract that. Make sure you're combining it with its like terms. We can't just subtract 3b from any of these. This cancels out to give us our equals 0. And here we get b squared plus 5b minus 3b is positive 2b, and then minus 35. The rest of this is the same. Diamond method. What has a product of -35 with a sum of 2? Well, that's going to be 7 and -5. So we get b plus 7, b minus 5. We have factored it. We set it equal to 0, and then step 3, set each factor equal to 0. b plus 7 equals 0, b minus 5 equals 0, and solve for x. If b plus 7 is 0, then b equals -7. And if b minus 5 equals 0, then b equals positive 5. And that's all there is to it.